el centro de la pampa vive un pimiento. Sol y viento pa' su vida, sol y viento. Sol y viento pa' su vida.
Hello, I'm Patrick Barnard. Welcome to the 12th edition of the Pimento Report. In the 11th Pimento Report, Iran, the summer of 2009, we described a deeply divided country following the contested elections in June 2009, with the opposition led by Hossein Mousavi accusing President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and his government of massive electoral fraud. Between June and now, September 2009, people have been killed, show trials have been mounted, and terrible charges have been made publicly of officially promoted murder, torture, and the rape of young people. This month, renewed opposition demonstrations took place on what is known as Quds Day, September 18th, 2009. In Arabic, Al-Quds literally means the sanctuary and stands for the city of Jerusalem and, more broadly, Palestine. 30 years ago, the Islamic Republic began Quds Day as a yearly occasion to demonstrate for the liberation of Palestine. But this year, the reform movement, the Green Movement in Iran, joined in the demonstrations to protest against the Ahmadinejad government. We're going to update some of the specific stories we've mentioned in the 11th edition of the Pimento Report. But first, let's take a look at some of the citizen videos of the demonstrations on September 18th. These are the opposition demonstrations in Tehran involving thousands of people in different neighborhoods on September the 18th. Police spokespersons called the numbers small, yet a video on YouTube claims to have intercepted communications on September 18th between security officials as they tell each other about the real numbers of people in the streets. But the demonstrations were not just in Tehran. They were also in Isfahan and in Shiraz. One of the people we mentioned in our previous Pimento Digest, Iran, the summer of 2009, was Sohrab Arabi, a 19-year-old student arrested during the demonstrations in June. He was shot, with his corpse returned to his mother only 3 weeks later. We've already seen his mother's face before she knew her son's fate, asking for him in front of Tehran's Evin prison. This woman's name is Parvin Fahmy. She's a member of a group called Mothers for Peace, and even after her son's death, there she was on September 18th, marching with all the other people. Another person in the protesting crowds on September 18th was the cleric, Mehdi Karoubi. Mehdi Karoubi is a cleric, a former speaker of the Iranian parliament, and one of the candidates for the office of the presidency in June. In Karoubi's native region of Loristan, his vote in 2009 was 1/10 of what it had been 4 years before, and Ahmadinejad's vote was 10 times what it had previously been. This bizarre anomaly was just one of the statistical aberrations which has led statisticians to say organized fraud was likely in the 2009 election. The children of many prominent figures in Iran have been arrested, and Mehdi Karoubi has been under terrific pressure, and he has publicly warned that he possibly faces arrest. Yet he is undaunted, continuing to denounce the election and demand that people in Iran have their civil rights. In the last month, he published an open letter denouncing torture carried out by the regime. The people's questions and doubts about the fate of their votes were answered not with proof and logic, but with bullets and batons, clubs and beating. stripping people and making them face each other and subjecting them to vile insults and urinating in their faces and releasing boys and girls with bound hands and eyes into the wilderness and raping boys and girls in detention facilities. It is difficult to estimate the number of people killed, detained, and arraigned over the last 3 months. At the end of our previous report about Iran, we used the pictures of two brothers that appeared in an article by Serge Michel in the Paris newspaper Le Monde, a picture which symbolized the deep split in the country. One brother in this family is a reformer. The other is in the militia, the Basij. On September 18th, there were also pro-government demonstrations in Tehran, and at moments the opposing crowds almost clashed. One video from that day shows a standoff between the protesters and a police contingent. Again, the two sides in today's Iran. And behind the police lines and the social divisions in the country is something else, the moral force of people like the mother of Sohrab Arabi. Sohrab Arabi's mother addresses Tehran City Council. Now, I just want to know why my son has passed away. Is it simply for the vote he had cast? Assassinated by whom? And by whose order, and why? My son was just thinking who he would vote for and then asking, where has my vote gone? He asked for nothing more. He was just killed because he was a supporter of Mr. Mousavi. For what kind of crime was he killed? My son was just a 19-year-old boy. He hadn't yet reached any of his wishes. I, his mother, day and night, I am asking God to put an end to this oppression.